So what generally happens between couples is that once they get married, they start taking care of various expenses in the family, whether it's their own expenses, combined expenses, some far off expenses for other things, some investments, some charge in some credit card. Basically, everything's just happening all over the place and you have no idea how things are going. So, if we take the example of our two states couple, we know that when they got married, it was basically like, whoever's account had money, they were spending the money. So in case of Krish and Ananya, Krish was taking care of rent, utility and travel expenses from his salary account, and Ananya would transfer a fixed sum to Krish's salary account to take care of things. Then after a few months, they decided, okay, these things are getting very complicated for us, so let's go open a joint account and let's spend from there. But because certain bills were already linked to Krish's account, he continued to spend for it from there, and then from the joint account, they started spending for their travel and their any personal spends. Now they realized that they don't really have a lot of investments, so they started making investments from whichever bank account had money. So there are investments happening from Ananya's account in the name of Krish, from the joint account in the name of Ananya. There is an old dormant account that Krish has, from which he's making some old investments that he started probably 5 years ago when he started working for the first time. Basically, his money is all over the place and it is impossible for them to understand what is happening. They just know that they are saving around 20% each month and spending 80%. But which bank account is doing what is very confusing to understand. And this hodgepodge of cash flow is just making things worse for them, because today it may seem convenient. Oh, this bank account has money, let's spend from here. This bank account has money, okay, let's save from here. It may seem convenient today when you're taking decisions, but a few years later, it's only going to get more complicated and also impact your taxations. In fact, all this jumbled money does not give you a clear picture of how much you're saving, how much you're spending, and there is no budget at all. So what are they exactly doing, and what in fact all of us do, whether individuals or as couple? The number of bank accounts that you have would determine how comfortably you can manage your cash flows and how much do you remember where your money is. So once we figured out our savings, the second thing is to how do we ensure that our money is flowing properly. And the way to ensure that is to have the right number of bank accounts. Now your bank accounts would be based on the formula that we used, that is income minus savings equals to expenses. So we have to take care of 3 factors of your cash flow. Similarly, you need 3 bank accounts which adhere to each of these things. So you have your salary account, which is your bank account number 1, in which your income comes. Now if you're a business holder, then you have a current account or a savings account in which you're taking your fees. So basically your account 1, which we are calling salary account, is nothing but the income account. Now honestly speaking, this bank account would vary from jobs to jobs. You could have a salary account that you started during your internship 10 years ago and today it has become a dormant account. That is why the purpose of having a income account or a salary account separate is that it could change a number of times and it would not impact any other thing. So your bank account 1 is salary account. Your bank account 2 is your individual investment account. That is, this is the account which will be in your name. And this is where all your savings will get transferred, from which you make investments. Hence, we call this bank account as your individual investment bank account. The third bank account will be your expenses account. And now that you're married, it will be your joint expenses account. So how many bank accounts you have? You have 3 bank accounts, 1 salary, 2nd investments, and the 3rd as your expenses. Now the next thing is what should be the ownership of your accounts, and also to ensure that your spouse has access to your bank accounts and money in case of any emergencies. When it comes to your salary account, it will be in your individual name. It is your personal bank account and it is only for the inflow of income. Basically from here the money is transferred to your investments account or your joint expense account. So when you open an individual investment account, that is a separate bank account in which you will transfer your savings each month, ensure that your spouse is added as anyone or survivor joint holder to that bank account. So you basically be the primary account holder and your spouse is added as your secondary account holder. So this will ensure that both of you can access that bank account in case of any emergencies. Now when it comes to joint expense account, clearly the nature of the bank account is such that both of you must be able to access it for your monthly expenses. So you open it as anyone or survivor joint holding. It is very important that you add your spouse to your bank accounts as the second holder or as a secondary holder, right? In fact, COVID and the health scare that happened in 2020 and 2021 has made us realize that it's not important to just have money and savings, but it is also important that your spouse and your family has access to that money. Now remember that we're talking about the fact that you should have the bank accounts type should be anyone or survivor. It should not be a jointly option. So when you go to select the joint account holder, there would be options like anyone or survivor or jointly. So before you proceed ahead to the next questions, it would be a nice activity to add this to your to-do. Check your bank accounts and see if you have each other as your second holders to your bank account. If not, it would be a good practice to use your next bank working Saturday and get the forms and add each other as your joint account holders.